The Federal Reserve just proved that your experience is worth more today than it was 5 years ago. They also proved that your kid's $100,000 degree is worth much less.
Young people seem to be digital natives, right? I guess that's the term that we've given them. They know how to handle all the large language models. They know how to do all the things that need to be done now that you can do online. I'm not, right? I'm trying to conduct my business. I'm trying to keep up. I'm concerned. I can only imagine what's happening to most of the guys, that we're trying to speak to that are our age, right? In the same positions we're in.
The thing about that 601 is I'm not sure that we're all talking the same language or looking at the same things and understanding what's happening in the real world when it comes to AI and intelligence and what's happening in our workplace. And I think it comes down to this. Are you using codified knowledge or tacit knowledge? Because if you're using tacit knowledge, then you're in good shape.
So, well, hold on a second. Tacit knowledge and codified knowledge, right? That's what you said?
It's exactly what I said. It's not only what I said. Those terms were used exactly from the Dallas's Fed report in February. So codified knowledge is basically book learning, right? Textbooks, procedures, what you learned in school, what you could just repeat. And tacit knowledge is experiential knowledge. It comes from decades of doing the work, judgment, discernment, the ability to look at and understand what's going on beyond just what the textbooks are.
I have tacit knowledge.
Yeah. We all of us in our age have some form of tacit knowledge that is a step above, and that's your advantage over younger workers. And I hate to say it that way, advantage over younger workers. But if you look at it and you say, okay, we're in this marketplace, there's a whole lot of people that are getting run over by this AI thing and what's going on. And how do I survive that? It's your secret weapon is your tacit knowledge. And the Achilles heel for the young folks they're basing everything off their codified knowledge. They just haven't done anything yet. And that's exactly what the AI models, agents, automations are good at. They're fantastic at codified knowledge. They can do anything when it comes as far as that goes. And that's why you have an advantage over the younger folks.
So again, this is the Second Half Man Show. The discussion today is going to be probably around old guys like us dealing with AI and trying to put it to use. If you like the subject that we're going to be discussing today, please hit that like button or subscribe. Let's dive a little deeper into this subject. Russ, tell me a little bit more.
Okay, so a little bit more. Let's just go back to the Dallas Fed report. So J. Scott Davis in February 2026 said that two things are happening. One, that younger folks are not getting the jobs that they used to. In fact, employment is down 13% for workers from 22 to 25 in AI exposed jobs. AI exposed jobs are the things that we've been talking about. Whatever you're doing, you can do on the screen. So that their employment is down 13% since last year.
Yeah, that's basically all entry level jobs, right?
Yeah, all entry level jobs. Yeah. At the same time, in our age bracket, some of them are experiencing getting premium wages. Their wages are up by 8.5% over the same time period that the younger folks are losing jobs. We're actually getting raises.
That's good news and bad news, right? That's good news for us, but not good news for the younger folks.
Actually, it's good news for some of us, because the folks that are earning those premium wages, the guys that are earning those premium wages, are the guys that are utilizing the tools to accentuate the work that they're able to do already. They're tacit labor, and they're teaming it up with the AI tools and being able to produce a lot more work than the guys that aren't. And when I say that's pretty readily seen by this, we mentioned that the younger folks are 13% employment, down 13%. But if you're not one of the guys that are getting the premium wages and you're one of the older folks that are experiencing the job loss, you now fall into the biggest category of unemployed, long-term unemployment out of any group, and that's almost 25%. That's 24.6%. If you lose a job over the age of 50, you're in the largest group that doesn't have work and can't get work.
Yeah, you're probably swimming in that pool for a long time, right?
Exactly. The longest period of time over anybody, regardless of your experience.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So what I'm getting, you're saying that our age group that are adopting the use of AI along with the work that they're doing. So we're using the tools, right? We're using the tools that are available to us. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
So in addition to that, what's our leverage there though? So everybody can learn to use learn to use AI. Right? I say that, but for the most part, anybody can use AI, right?
Yeah, but I think that's the whole point. It's those that are using adapting to AI are getting ahead and earning premium wages, while those that aren't are falling further behind and are falling deeper into the gap.
So younger people's jobs down. Older guys that are using these tools, we're getting raises, right? But what makes us so effective though? Because I know the young people know how to use AI the same way. They can work with the tool the same way we can. So, what happens when the companies find out that the young people can do the same thing we can do?
Oh, they can't. They don't have the reps. I mean, the whole thing, your advantage is your judgment. It's the knowledge that you've gained over thousands and thousands of repetitions of being in situations and being able to understand what's going on beyond just the tactics of what a job is supposed to be. It's about your judgment. It's about your experience. It's about being able to read the room, about being able to understand what the guy sitting across the table from you is really saying, not the words coming out of his mouth, but based on his body language, all of those things. That is where in our age group, where our advantage lies. And because the younger workers don't really have that, all they have is that codified knowledge. They're very susceptible to being able to be their jobs being done by AI and automations.
Yeah. So, okay. I don't know how they're going to gain an advantage over us in that, because that just came from years of being in whatever position, being whatever industry we're in at the time. So speaking of industry, how's that affecting? So what the things that are happening, how is that affecting, the industries that are out there right now?
Basically, there's an overall reports from big industry that there's going to be a 4% reduction over the next 12 months in headcount, strictly attributable to AI. When you look at it, Sam Altman and the transition timeline, it's getting compressed. More things are happening. We're letting go of more people. Meta announced a 20% workforce reduction to fund its future growth. Doesn't that make sense? That doesn't even make sense, does it? I'm cutting 20% of my workforce to fund my future growth, but that's where we're at. These things are not what's coming up. Those are decisions that are already made and things that are going to happen. So it's happening across the board and in every industry.
So with my knowledge, right? With my knowledge, my judgment, companies' desire to compress the work so they can do more work, right? Or compress the jobs to do more work. What's our leverage? Like how do we stay safe in that situation? So,
well, here's how you stay safe. First of all, you got to learn how to use the tools, because if you look at what's coming out, it's directly aimed at all of what it is that we do, right? So the last model that came out with ChatGPT 5.4, it scored 83% on the economical valuable task benchmark. Basically, what that said was, if a user uses it on a 7-hour task, what normally would take us 7 hours for a man to do, they could save 4 hours and 38 minutes on that same task. The AI could. That's 66% of the time returned to the man. So it all comes down to what it is you do with that 66%. So for a man who knows what to do at that time, this is a huge multiplier. For a man not using the tool at all, the gap's widening.
So when you say not using it at all, that's our generation. How our generation doesn't. We don't really use the tools, do we? I mean, some of us are, and that's evidently what we're saying is what's making us effective and making us more valuable, right? But for the most part, I got to guess what. Not so much.
Well, yeah, the numbers aren't so good on that. So the Pew Research finds that only 18% of employed 50-year-olds and older ever use ChatGPT or any other AI at work. That compares to 38% of workers aged 18 to 29. So we're not using the tools.
I know. We did a whole show on the fact that workers, meaning young people, young workers, are using ChatGPT or using AI to accomplish their jobs, and then not crediting AI or giving credit to AI. So, yeah, they're using it, and we're not.
Right. And when you combine that statistic right there with what we talked about before, our only advantage is our experience, but not just our experience combined with AI, and only 18% of us are using it, our advantage is going to go away awful fast.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you this. So I should feel good though, right? I have experience, right? I've got experience. That experience is being rewarded, right? With 8% increase in my pay. Yeah. So boop, I'm not a young man. I'm not an entry level kind of guy. So I got no worries, right? No worries?
Yeah, no worries. But you just led us right to the trap. All right. The trap with all this is, the data says good things about men with experience and their advantage, right? But what it doesn't tell you is that experienced workers who are operating in exposed industries that aren't using these tools are the fastest ones to be shown the door. So A, they're not hiring younger people, and B, they're showing the people that don't know how to use and aren't using AI in their jobs and just relying on their experience. And that is the biggest trap that's out there. You could sit around and think, I'm safe. I got 30 years of experience. I know what the hell's going on. I can solve all these problems in no time. But that's not really the case. When you get somebody that has that experience and they combine it with AI, they're far more dangerous than you. And when you give a younger guy that really knows how to use AI just a little bit of experience, he'll run over you every time. So essentially, experience is the asset, and AI is the multiplier. An asset without a multiplier is just inventory sitting on a shelf.
So the information that you're giving us is damn good information. We've got our guys that are using AI. We have a bigger percentage of our guys that have the judgment and the experience that are not taking advantage of the tools that are out there and using AI to accomplish their job, right? And to be more profitable for their companies. So what's, sovereign solution? Give me a sovereign solution for those guys.
Well, you just said it, right? These guys have the information. The information is not the problem. Hell, it never was the problem. The problem is the space between what a man knows and what he does. When we say 82% of employed Americans over 50 have never opened an AI tool at work, it's not because they lack intelligence.
Right.
And it's not because they lack access, because knowing and doing are separated by a gap that most men never cross. That's the problem, right? Sovereignty is forged in the gap between knowing and doing. Decisive action is the physical manifestation of your sovereign will. In my upcoming book, the second half manifesto, How to Stay Dangerous When AI and Society Want You Obsolete, we talk about push. And this is where element 11 of the Sovereign's Code, push, becomes the dividing line. So the 8.5% wage premium that we talked about is going to the men, aren't going to the men who read about AI. It's going to the men who push through the gap of between reading and doing and are actually utilizing the tools. And the 24.6% or almost 25% that are still unemployed, they're still thinking about what it is they want to do in terms of AI. So push is not motivation. Push is physics. It's a body at rest stays at rest. And the man who opens the tools and uses them, they're already starting to cross the gap.
So I understand that. I understand what you're saying. I think most guys that are going to watch this are going to understand that not using the tools being available and not using them is probably where the disconnect's coming in. So is there anything we can do? What can they do this week? Is there something we can do this week to help them take that first step?
Yeah, there's something they can do. One email, one tool, one timer.
Sounds too easy.
The problem is we keep talking about all this stuff, and it really is pretty easy. So you have an email. You know which one it is. It's the one you've been avoiding, the one you have rewritten in your head 3 times. The client follow-up, the difficult situation, the proposal you keep putting off. Open Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, any one of them. Give it the full context. Who it's going to, what you need to say, why it's hard, what you've already tried. Let it draft. Edit in your voice. Send it. Time the whole thing. From the moment you open the tool to the moment you hit send. And write that number down. That's your first data point on what sovereignty looks like when your judgment directs the tool instead of avoiding it. The men earning Dallas Fed premium, they didn't start with a strategy. They started with one problem and one tool. You do the same this week. See how that works.
So once again, this is the Second Half Man Show. Thank you for watching. If you like the subject we discussed today, please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. You'll see the show on a weekly basis. Leave us some comments. Let us know if we're doing a good job, we're doing a bad job. If you got some questions, please feel free to ask.
To take a deeper dive on this information, subscribe to our weekly newsletter, The Dispatch. You can do that at secondhalfman.com/newsletter. That's secondhalfman.com/newsletter, or hit the link below. It'll end up in your mailbox every Sunday morning.
So Russ, before we close out, any final thoughts? Any final thoughts on this subject?
Yeah. The window on this data is not permanent. Right now, experienced workers who deploy AI have an advantage over 2 groups at once. Younger workers who have the tools but not the judgment, and older workers who have the judgment but not the tools. That intersection won't last for long. Push is not a concept. It's what you do this week. One email, one tool, one data point. The gap between knowing and doing closes, one action at a time.
So again, this is the Second Half Man Show. Thank you for watching. I'm 601.
I'm Russ Borden.
Stay dangerous.